Have you ever been victimized by New Age spirituality?
We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting.
You're going to want to listen up.
I'm Megan, an intuitive life coach and Reiki master.
I'm Ryan, a professional astrologer, and we want to show you what spirituality is by talking about what it is not.
Con artist.
Yes.
Snake oil salesman.
There are so many susceptible people out there.
And then they're tainted. They're ruined. They don't want to come back to spirituality.
We still have a lot to learn, and we will humble ourselves and learn, I think, every freaking day. This is Clairannoyance,
a podcast of spiritual interference.
Welcome to Clairannoyance. We are your hosts, Ryan Marquardt and
Megan Lund.
So we have another guest on.
And this beautiful creature we have on the scene, please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Oh my gosh, you're so delightful and lovely. I am Maile Jackson, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
It's your girl, Maile J.
Yeah.
It's your girl, Maile J.
I love it. I love it. Maile is a human design expert, and honestly, way more than that. She has such a storied history with sales and helping entrepreneurs as well. And we are so excited to introduce you to her. So I feel like, what do we just kick this off by having Maile do a little spiel about who she is?
Yeah. Who are you? When were you born? What's your favorite color?
Oh, yeah. I was born March 9th, hashtags Water Gang. I am a human potential expert who uses human design to help businesses and entrepreneurs really live out their highest potential and build businesses of their dreams. So that's what I do.
I love that. A human potential expert. We'll put that in the show notes.
Sounds delightful.
Yes.
Potential. So let's just get into the nitty gritty. What is human design?
So I'm going to give you a very canned answer where whenever I get asked this question, I always say it's an empirical belief system that is designed to unlock your genetic code so that you can maximize your human potential. AKA, it's a chart that really shows you your own personal energy, how your personal energy works. So I think I told you this a few days ago, but the difference between astrology and human design is that astrology is really like a roadmap to your soul's journey or this life's journey. And human design is how do you turn on your car and drive that journey, essentially. So for each individual person, human design is deeply rooted in astrology, but it is so much different in that, how does this freaking car work? How many times do I jangle the keys? Do I pump the gas 2 times and get it to turn on and go for me? Whereas astrology will help give you deep insight into the journey that you're living out. But this is the car I'm driving. So human design this is all about my car. And astrology is this is all about the road that I'm driving on,
And
Love
Ryan, since we have a human design expert and we have an astrology expert, what do you think about that? Because I loved Maile and I had a session on Monday, and she said that, and I was like, dude, you gotta discuss this. So, what are your thoughts on that quote?
Oh, I'm so into that. Are you kidding? I saw you post that on your Instagram, and I was like, oh my God. I was going to say something, but I was like, nope, that's going to come up in the interview. So I'm glad that it already did, out of the way. No, I think that's an amazing way to look at it. I wouldn't have thought of that myself, but it is really true because astrology can feel a little bit more abstract or conceptual or bigger picture. You can get very detailed with it, but I think human design always feels more like I know how to embody these energies now and how to practically use them in my daily life, right? So do I need to take my car in for the car wash? Do I need an oil change right now? That sort of stuff versus well, I'm heading to Vegas. So yeah, I'm going to need to rotate my tires, or something like that.
No, then that was beautifully said. And full disclosure, I did not come up with that by myself. I was accidentally scrolling through some TikTok or Instagram thing and saw another human design expert or reader, whatever you want to call them, give that example. And I was like, that's so well said. And then you just said it even more eloquently, this is a road, this is your car, but you said it beautifully. That's exactly what it means.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, we can just pretend you came up with that.
Totally. I want to give credit where credit is due.
No, that's good. That's good. It's an important part of the spiritual community.
into it? Like, how did you, because this just kind of popped on the scene. Like, everyone has always known astrology and their sign, but I didn't even know what human design was till about 4 years ago. And it was such a insane concept to me, very intriguing. But how did you discover this?
I mean, I feel that my sentiments are the same. Like as we continue this talk, I'm sure that we'll agree on a lot of different things. But I came across human design because I had I was following someone who recommended human design as like part of their like understanding themselves. And like full disclosure, I had already been on a self-development journey for a long time. Like I am not a spring chicken. Boo. I've been on this road for a long time. I have studied astrology, numerology. Yeah, I'm not a spring chicken. And I also like was part of a cult and like grew up in the church. So I had this whole background of like
Wait,
oh
what?
yeah.
Did
I just like smoothly sail over that part?
Fish it all back. You can't just casually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I was in a cult. You just can't be casually dropping.
Not on Clairannoyance. You can't do that. We're gonna back up and go straight to that.
Yeah, like
car in reverse.
Casual. Yeah. Like let's put the car in park.
I will say that I mean, yes, I was part of a cult. And I really do believe that the church is a cult too, but that's neither here nor there. And sometimes you don't realize that and I think this is common in the spiritual community. I'm sure you guys have had your own experiences where like you get involved with like a healer or a guru and you really feel drawn to their work and they really do help you in the beginning. So you see some like changes in your life. You have like these awareness things where you're like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. I didn't even know this types of stuff exists. And you kind of dive into it like all in. I mean, my personality is like, yo, if I get onto something, like I'm throwing my whole body and soul and everything. I'm doing it 120. And it was that like I started that evolution. I started working with a healer, had some like really great results in my life. She was also talking about things that I never had really heard about. I grew up in a very conservative Christian home. So like new age spirituality, metaphysics, quantum physics, all those types of things were like considered taboo, witchcraft, the occult. Like we don't do that. And that I never heard of. So when she started talking about things that like naturally I was like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of this before. I became super intrigued and wanted to learn everything. And then it just took a weird turn where like she had positioned herself as like this guru. Then she was like picking people who were in her inner circle and based on
Teal Swan.
I know. I was literally gonna say
it wasn't Teal Swan.
We can't bring her up every episode,
but Teal Swan.
Yeah, we talked about that in our like opening episode basically, and like that being a prime example of why we even started this podcast, because it is so easy to get wrapped up in the wrong things in this community. So I love that you're talking about this.
Yes, for 1,000%. And then as it transitioned, because I personally think that even like this lady that I was involved working with, in the beginning, it didn't feel that way. And it wasn't like that. It was like, as she gained more like followers, as she gained more power, and she started to make just ridiculous amounts of money, that then like it kind of like took control over like how she ran her business. And then there was a point where I was like, yo, this actually feels so weird. And you would get texts from her and I would start getting heart palpitations when I would get an email or a text, and it became very weird. And I was like, I'm out and I'm done. So I left. But it wasn't like like I'm naked, like having sex with everyone kind of cult. It was more of like the evolution.
That'd be my kind of cult.
Like, why wasn't I involved in that kind of cult? But that was my experience with her.
Yeah, it's kind of like innocently getting wrapped up in something.
Well, people are,
sure.
you get involved on your quest for spirituality because you're seeking, and people oftentimes when they're seeking are lost. So you see someone who lights your life up, gives you energy, exposes you to new ideas, that's activating dopamine in your brain. And you're like, holy crap balls, there is magic here. And then away you go. But thank God you had critical thinking skills to be like, this isn't for me, because so many people don't. And it's not till it's a little too late and, you know, your bank account is quite empty or
I would say,
quite low.
especially as a Pisces too. This is making me want to pull up Miley's birth chart while we talk.
Oh yeah,
and just
please
be
do.
like looking at something I'm going to.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
Anyway. Okay,
Even
cult
like natural,
subject
like,
aside.
yeah. So my evolution to human design was I had this background and there were still elements of things I didn't understand about myself. And so when I saw someone that I respected as an entrepreneur, like she wasn't selling spiritual anything. She was an entrepreneur. She had a few companies. I adored her. And she was like, I use this to help me understand myself. And then I found the lady who she recommended and scheduled a human design session. And my first session, I was hooked. And I was like, oh, like there were so many pieces that from an astrological standpoint got tangibly placed in my hands where I was like, oh, this is why I tend to feel this way. Oh, yeah, I do have that wound. Oh, yeah, my mind does do those things. And then she gave me a few exercises and tools to use based off of my personal like energy chart where I was defined and where I wasn't that were so helpful that I was like, I want to learn more about this because I want to help myself, one, but I also want to understand my partner. I want to understand my son and the other people in my life. And then it just kind of went from there.
For people who have no idea and they're like, okay, this sounds great, but what the hell are you fine folks talking about? Like,
Right.
you know, like, let's break it down. Like, talk to us about the archetypes and, you know, like, and I know there's so much information that goes into this modality that
It's
we're
a
really
lot.
oh my God, we're really only going to be able to cover the basics, so to speak. But to someone who is like, all right, this is German to me. Like, what are you guys talking about?
Girl, yeah. So human design is a combination of like probably like more Eastern sciences. So it's astrology, it's the I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, Kabbalah, and quantum physics. So that's what are all the different components combine into your personal chart, which is made up of like a type, which is more of like your personality. So like that's why you guys are manifestors. I'm a manifesting generator. There are 5 total types that you can fall into. And your type is really your personality, your tendencies in human form. Your profile is similar to what I call like, not what I call, but what astrology calls your sun and your moon sign. That's how I describe it. So like the first number is really something where you're like, oh yeah, I resonate with that. That's my like sun. And then the second number, so I think you both are 6'2s, aren't you?
I'm a 6'2". Ryan, what are you?
Oh shoot, 6'4", 6'4", I think.
Oh, 4'6". Okay.
4'6", my bad.
Yeah, I'm a yeah. You're not a hermit. You know, I'm the role model hermit. You ain't no hermit, buddy boy.
He likes the people.
He's a no limit soldier, dude. He just the amount of energy on this man.
I know.
Check his chart, because how does he like? There's got to be some sort of extra dose of sacral energy that, because it's incredible to me. He's like, I'm going to work at 9 p.m. after I went and played softball and then, you know, jogged 38 miles. What?
Dodgeball, thank you. I played dodgeball.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My son is a huge, huge dodgeball freak.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Anyway.
I am not a fan of getting pelted in the face with balls.
Yeah,
I know.
right.
It happens every game. Every game.
Where's Josh?
Right. He might disagree.
Josh is your boyfriend.
I love it.
Anyway, Brian.
Girl, you crack me up. So your profile is like your sun and your moon sign. Essentially, like the sun is how like people see you. And honestly, I'm not sure what like old like Eastern or like Chinese proverb it is, but it's like I'm not who like I think I am or who you think I am. I am who you think that I am. So basically like you morph into whoever like if you're with somebody who thinks you're really smart, you
become that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you're with somebody who like
that's so law of assumption too, because you know, like how people show up in your reality, you know, like so that's so fascinating how it all ties together.
Yeah, girl, 1,000%. And so the sun sign, I think most people are like, oh, I resonate so hard with this because we're always adapting to what we're doing outside. So we think we are a sun sign when essentially, like, if we took a little bit more contemplation and looked at like that second number most associated with our moon sign, is that this is like how we internally process things. This is how we actually really are on the inside, not necessarily what people see in us, but what we truly feel on the inside. So that's your profile. And that's what is most often talked about is your type and your profile.
And
Yeah,
where
and
do
if
you
you have
recommend, like, if somebody wants to go look up their chart, like, where would they go do that?
You can go to Jovian Archive, JOVINARCHIVE.com.
I'll put that in the show notes too. I'll make a note of that.
Because you can get your chart for free, and then there are like human design dot like US. You can go get your human design chart for free. So here's the difference between getting a free chart online.
I was about to say, I would not. If you're interested in this, book a session with her because
For
you'll
sure.
be,
Yeah.
Oh, anyway,
yeah. Because you'll be hunting around like, what in the crap are you being like? You're not self. You're like your gates, your channels. I mean, it took like 2.5 years of me poking around on Instagram to be like, oh, yes, a channel is when two gates are connected. Why didn't someone say that? Why did y'all have to gatekeep? It didn't have to be this difficult. 2 years poking around on Instagram. Should have found you first.
Oh, girl, I think that's part of clairannoyance, right? Is that like I often think that in the spiritual community, we get really caught up in sounding like very like esoteric or mystical instead of like explaining things in a way that people actually like understand. So we get these like long explanations about some download that somebody got from the Lion's portal on AIM 8. And this is what
they do.
And this is what this means. And like people that are just getting like are on that journey as we all are, depending on what stage you're in, are like twisting their brain around trying to figure out like I just want to know what channel means. Like
I know.
Yeah, just give me the cliff notes so I can, learn a little bit about myself and get by. And I think that's where, particularly as this began to boom, people were frustrated. And also all of a sudden, all these so-called experts came into the scene with no education except Instagram, which
or that one website online where you can
be
look up your
self-taught,
chart.
but if you're going to call yourself an expert, be a motherfucking expert. Know what you're talking about. And so what do you think about that? And how do you differentiate yourself from all the Instagram? I don't want to say host.
Because you're all up on social. You're doing it well, but it's making sense with you. Doesn't feel as superficial.
I actually really appreciate that because I actually avoided talking about human design on social media for a long time, purely because, and I'm sure you have experienced this with astrology, it's very much likened to like Christianity, where there's so many different sects of like Christianity, right? There's like so many different like philosophies and beliefs and doctrines and all these things based off of like one human's interpretation of these things. And like wherever people resonate, they're like, no, this is the doctrine, when essentially it's like, we all believe in the same thing. Like, wherever you want to get your cup of tea from, go get your cup of tea from. There's so many people out there that are explaining things a way that they would like to explain it. As far as like human design, like experts, I will say, and this may be a little bit controversial, but the Institute of Human Design is the one who actually like owns all the rights to everything about human design. And they're the ones who put on courses and who like certify people. It used to be run by Ra and then his like close associates and his family. And then when Ra passed away, it got passed down to his children who actually didn't have any interest in it. So it got passed off to somebody else. What I have noticed is that like basically as much ass that you can kiss at the Institute of Human Design is who they approve to like get certified or to like give those rights that you need. And without getting technical, if you're building a website and you want to basically take the information like from human design or like to run an astrology chart essentially and bring it into your website, you have to ask for permission from certain people's individual, whatever, technology. I try to do it for my website, something that like there are other human design experts.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
they
were like,
they told you no, didn't they?
Wow.
Multiple times. They're like, we only give it to corporations. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I am set up legally as a corporation. What do I need to do in order to like get qualified? Is there something like what rigmarole thing that do you want me to pay $5,000? Do you want me to like stand on my head like naked and take a picture of myself, send it in? Like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just give me the thing. Like, just tell me what I need to do to get there. And basically they were like, no, we're no longer doing business with anyone.
We don't like you.
These people.
We don't like you, Maile J. We're packing up our toys and we're leaving.
But if you think about like ancient texts and like the people who have had access to ancient texts, because they were like limiting the amount of people that had access to it, it creates one like this intrigue, but it also creates like so much disinformation that gets out there because people don't have access to the thing that you actually want them to have access
Telephone,
to.
yes. So it starts to get misconstrued over time. Literally like the Bible and going through translation after translation, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so that's crazy. The ways that human design might now change because I guess the way it was founded is no longer even accessible to people at this point. Almost, right?
Sure. And I mean, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience of what like I have found. I actually personally don't like the human design community because they want to fight over things that don't make sense. And one thing that I learned in Bible school when I was like 16 was there was like a quote in the Bible that basically said like basically you're a fool if you're going to fight over the meaning of things inside of the Bible. Like essentially the Bible is broken down into like some core beliefs like love conquers all, forgiveness is key. Like those core principles don't change. So if you and I want to fight over like what this particular like thing means in the Bible, we're wasting our own energy when we could be out there loving the experience that we have, working on our wounds, forgiving other people, and creating our own life. And I have found in the human design community that like there's a lot of finger pointing. You don't know what you're talking about. Actually, this means this. And because of that lack of information that's out there, there's no real like, okay, like let's just check this against what is being said. So there's a lot of people giving their own interpretations, which is fine. And human design was meant to be a living experiment. So like, or experience. So if all I'm doing is reading things in a book and just basically word vomiting on people what I read in a book and giving that as a session, like that's fine. But until you really know, it's like applying.
No,
like
it's not. It's not fine. It is not fine. That's like, that's the same deal with, when people are like, oh, I'm an astrologer. And then, they pull up a chart on one of those apps and, like none of it's okay. And then charge $1 bazillion. And then it leaves the people with a bad experience because there's not people they can tell authenticity. So, they can tell who cares instead of, well, this is what you are a manifesting generator with.
Yeah. Facts. It's kind of like, it's how I felt when I graduated from college with a business degree. Like I went into the business world thinking, oh my gosh, I have this business degree and like, your girl is going to do some things in the business world. Little did I know that I didn't know shit about business. And everything that I was taught were by professors who never ran businesses in real life. And I was like, oh, I have this piece of paper and I know all these little things about like profit and revenue and how to do stupid statistic formulas, but I actually know nothing about running a business. And the only way you can know about running a business is by running a business and learning through experience, which is similar to like human design. The best human design readers are the ones that can take something that's from a book and have like applied in real life and work with other like clients for seeing how these energies actually play out in actual real life. Like what does a defined Anya look like in real life? Not the textbook answer, but like what do you actually experience?
Where's the application? So we're gonna get to what you do in a second because that was all great and relevant. But really quickly, we have two elephants in the room that are
because
so.
She already mentioned Ra.
Yeah. So as I discovered this, and I'm like, like in 2018, I was going through my second tour with addiction, so I was living under the bed and spent a lot of time Googling things because I couldn't socialize. And so I'm like, all right, like, cool. I'm a 6-2 manifester. I'm an emotional 6-2 manifester. All of this makes sense, yada, yada, yada. This is a great modality. How do I apply it? Let me learn the background of it. And then I'm glad that I had already gone down this path, because the logical mind, when you hear about what happened. So I'm going to paraphrase and then I'm going to shoot the ball to you. We got a homeboy named Alan. He's just living his life. Alan then one day gets hijacked by an alien or some sort of being for 4 days, and he writes a manuscript that's 444 pages, and then he's like, psych, Alan, no more. My name is Raha Shibbity Bang Bang Bang. You probably know his full name. And I'm here, like, Alan out, Ra here. This is what's up. Get on board. I'm a manifester. Hoorah.
Here's human design. Thank you, alien. Like, what? How do you reconcile that, though, with such a crazy founding story? Like, that's part of this, right? It's like, that is like something that I think will turn so many people off from wanting to experience human design.
That's why nobody's ever like, hootie ha ha, listen to this.
Yeah, well, because like, and it's different. Like,
I love
with
that
astrology,
you said
right? Like, astrology is so, like, the founding of it, quote unquote, just kind of makes sense. It evolved so naturally over humanity.
And I'm also on board with it. I totally, like, to me, I was like, my logical side was like, that's strange, but I'm a Pisces, and and the world is full of magic, so you just got to look for it. So I was like, well, I've seen some stranger things, so sure, Alan, I'll call you Ra. What's up, bud?
So I have so many thoughts on this. But actually, when I saw this question, I actually thought it was one of the best questions. And when my initial response was like, how do I reconcile this? Like, I don't, because so many things in metaphysics and in the spiritual community, like, are actually opposite of what makes logical sense. Mormonism was founded by Joseph Smith, who found golden tablets that were engraved by Jesus in the mountains. And he came down and was given this divine whatever. And so well, this is for me personally, because I had asked myself this question as well. And so did my boyfriend. Like, when I start going down the path of having everything have to like check off these logical like boxes, then I actually take myself out of like the realm of like magic and possibility and all of those things, because in essence, everything that we see in our physical world is even including like belief systems, whether it be Christianity, Mormonism, metaphysics, quantum physics, comes from some divine download that a human got and expressed out in the world that people resonated with on some level and was like, I feel like this is the truth. And that's where I'm at my journey at this point. Maybe I'll change my mind. I hope I do at some point, but whatever you resonate with at human design that helps you move forward, take that. Whatever is limiting and doesn't actually contribute to your journey, or you want to use in victim mentality or as an excuse as why you can't do something, you need to leave that at the door. And even astrology, quantum physics, all these things, like whatever serves us in the moment in time that we're in that helps us evolve further is what I personally believe for human design you take with you. Whether Ra had sex with an alien, heard a voice and whatever.
Wait, there was sex with aliens? I missed that part, but
I mean, I'm not sure. We haven't talked about this, but like, if people knew like what I listened to and researched and read and I was interested in, they probably think I was batshit insane. And but so like the things that I've listened to from people are like people's like personal accounts with like aliens or going back to the Anunnaki people. There's so many different things that I'm like, oh, I'm so intrigued. The Palladians, the Atlantis, all of those kinds of things, light language, activation codes. If I was to say human design doesn't make logical sense because Ra like heard got a divine download, then that basically means that anything in the spiritual community or anything in the metaphysical realm actually is not true. And it would have to make so much logical sense that I would have to validate it that way. So when I reconcile human design, I just don't. I just use whatever is beneficial to me and my clients at the time.
Man, and you're smart, dude. That was brilliant. I mean, like that was a 10-10. That 10-10. Drop the mic, ma'am.
Good answer.
That was such a good answer. So, I've been cruising around and I just join all these like weird groups because I'm a curious person. And I came across a few years ago this like rave 2027. Now, I used to be a rave promoter. So I was in my former life and did bar invasion. So I was like, ew, like, is this a human design rave party? No, it was not. So what? And I get in there and it's like, there's a whole bunch of different people with their thoughts where it's like the world in 2027 will change as we know it. There will be more manifestors born. Your pets, they will not want to be your pets anymore. They will, like they're out. And that's all. That was the first. I'm like, what? Like I have a 3-legged cat that I love dearly. I was like, she don't want to be my friend no more. Like,
she's gonna hobble away.
She's just gonna, So, and it was, prepare, the world is already preparing for it. And of course, there's fear with that. And humans love to run with fear. So it's just, there's going to be no communication, prepare to live in the mountains. Then someone else would come swing back the other way. It's like, no, it's going to be the Jetsons way of life. And I just thought it was going to be a fun dance party. So what exactly are we talking about here with this? Because I think we can all agree that the world is changing dramatically, drastically. Even the most Neanderthal motherfuckers who can't feel energy, they're like, something's going on here. There's a little something in there. Something's going on here. What is that?
Oh man, this is such a great, phenomenal question. And I really took, like when you texted me this morning, I really needed to take an hour to think about this question, because this is obviously something that is talked about in the human design community, but I think it's permeated into every major like spiritual belief that there is currently a change that is going on, whether we believe that's because of the age of Aquarius or other things, that there's currently drastic changes in the collective consciousness that are happening. And human design explains that as the Great Change. And the Great Change signifies basically a change in the solar plexus, and solar plexus governs our emotions. And this change is taking place in the gate 55. And gate 55 is basically, it's called the spirit of abundance, but it is rooted in the change of moving from the shadow aspects of victimization, of basically complaining and blaming that the world lives outside of us, operating in a very like fear mentality, and that we are the victims of our reality instead of the conscious co-creators of what we see in our world. And the Great Change is basically like our solar plexus is going through an evolutionary change through light code activations over the next 5 years.
I'm actually getting, you don't have to roll your eyes. I'm actually currently getting downloaded with the system from light language. And I was a light language 1 practitioner, but a colleague and student of mine, her dad so to make a long story short, I'm currently getting downloaded with something crazy, and I know how crazy it sounds, but honestly, if they're at this point of the podcast, they're down with it. So we're not minimizing and shrinking ourselves anymore. Fly the freak flag, speak freely.
1,000%. But basically, like gate 55 signifies like your attitude in life, like what you personally believe, like your attitude in life actually dictates what gets to be true for you in life. And a majority of us are actually victim to our own emotions. We allow our emotions to take over our actions, and we go on this perpetual hunt for this emotional high that we're all seeking via material things in our reality, whether that be a romantic relationship, a house, a fame, money, all of those things. So in human design, the great change is the evolution of our solar plexus to realize that we are actually not our emotions. We live with our emotions and we don't act from our emotions. And moving a world moving from like a place of like operating off of fear, victim mentality and victim consciousness, where, and if you, I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. If you go to 9 times out of 10, if you walk into any room, people in there bond through complaining and blaming. They want to
110%.
gossip. They want to talk about why their life is so terrible.
It's trauma bonding.
Exactly.
It's offensive now. And if you're around, I mean, that's because you and I are both avid practitioners of the law of assumption. And I tell everyone the most negative thing of this is that when you start complaining, I am out. You know, like, I don't want to hear your sob story. You're just reinforcing it. I am. And it's just crazy how you nailed it on the head. How, you know, astrology, what's going on with America's Pluto's return, and Ryan can speak a hell of a lot more eloquently on this. Uranus, something's going on with
I'm literally looking at the
this.
astrology of 2027 right now. I'm like, where are the planets?
And so everything is just meshing together in this crazy, beautiful way. And the way you've articulated that is chef's kiss yet again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I feel like, like the astrologically, one of the ways I can explain it, there's a astrologer, Rick Levine, who explains this way better than I can. But it's kind of like, because you said that move to the age of Aquarius, right? Which honestly is a very long period of time. There's no start-stop date. It's like a 200-year process of moving out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. And in
200
Pisces,
years?
Yeah, I think we're in it. But like,
I thought we were in it in like 2013.
Yeah.
We started hearing about this.
And it's I think even before that it began, but Pluto's about to move into Aquarius. I think that's going to be a really big Kickstarter for this. In 2027, Uranus is going to be in Gemini. It's been in Taurus for years now. So like that's going to be a huge change when Uranus goes to Gemini. But anyway, like Age of Pisces is what we're moving out of. And that's where it was like, there were these anointed ones. There was a priest behind a pulpit, speaking and giving the word of God to the community. So like you have these like individual prophets, so to speak, who are chosen to speak word of God or tap into this like higher mindset, right? Age of Aquarius evens this out, and all of a sudden these powers come online for everybody. Everybody's got this access to higher thinking and light language, or whatever you want to refer to it as. So that's the move I'm excited for. I feel like maybe 2027 in human design speak would be this time frame that's maybe much more pivotal for that. I don't know. And it's cool because if it's more about the emotional, like what you were saying, how emotions don't run us, in 2027 Jupiter will have just left Cancer and moves into Leo. So that's a nice, like, we're leaving this, like Jupiter will be bringing this massive
God, when does that happen? When does Jupiter move into Cancer? I'm so emotional.
That's 2026. So it's almost like that move into 2027, the collective.
So we're all going to be screaming in emotion in Jupiter for all of 2026.
Yeah, it might exaggerate things. I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm just looking at where the planets are, I guess. But
I love that. I love it. So what about the pets? I mean, that's I get that was it's like, is my cat running away to start a new life?
I actually have this is probably like way more info. I probably could have answered this really simply, but I thought about this because it really is, if you think about pets and how they serve us, like from an emotional standpoint, our pets serve us more than it serves them to be our fucking pet. Right. And so we use them for like emotional stability. It's why service dogs get to go into the hospitals and really bring like peace to people there. It's because they're very calming for the emotions. Also, when you think about fear mongering and the evolution of like people being in caves, they actually had to like basically like house break animals as protection. People use dogs to hunt. People use dogs as like warning devices, are almost like alarms. And so if you think that we've been operating in this like victimhood mentality and this fear, this evolution that has happened where we have taken on animals as our own to serve our own purposes for like our emotional stability, and from the place of like operating in fear, that as those things go away, there will be no need for pets because we will be emotionally stable. So we're not depending on our pet to like give us some sort of satisfaction, that we're, instead of like being able to self-soothe our own emotions, we've been like using our dog as our like basically our hurt locker, like, oh, I'm sad, come here and cuddle me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I really think that that was that person's interpretation of like, as we become more emotionally stable, as we start operating from like the conscious creators that we are, and we let go of victim consciousness, then our need to dominate other like beings and mammals kind of goes away, you know?
So would it be a mutually beneficial relationship?
This is a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, it's like, how can I, besides taking care of your physical needs, Izzy, how can I better serve you? I mean, it's just a fascinating concept to allow kind of ruminate in your brain.
Uh-huh.
Oh, for sure. And I think to Ryan's point, like the great change isn't going to be like 2027 and everybody is out of victim consciousness and emotionally stable. Like far from it. This is going to take
listen, if human beings ever get emotionally stable across the board,
we'll be out of jobs.
You know what? You ain't wrong.
Yes. This is going to be a change that goes on for a long time. That like what human design says is that 2027, the beings that are born during this time are going to be born that way. And all the people and souls that are on this earth have to catch up. And so right now we're actively going through this.
Good luck, baby boomers. I am not even taking on your nonsense.
Like, go into the astral, like get out of here. Go to another dimension. I don't know if you're going to go to the first or second dimension, but you can't say it this way. You got to go out.
But what you were saying there, like Gen Z is so different in how they operate. I'm a geriatric millennial. I think we all are. And how they operate is so different. And so it's fascinating because there will be more manifestors born during this time, is what I read as well. I mean, and I have no way to verify any of that, but so we're just and manifestors bring about change. We initiate change. So fascinating.
I think that is spot on. I have seen also the other mark of this like change is that like the intellectual capabilities of the people born during this time are going to be off the charts. Like we're not going to be able to measure like how smart these people are. And my son is 13. And I am always amazed. It's not just him either. Like it's literally this whole generation. I'm always amazed by his emotional stability. I'm like, bitch, where did you get this emotional stability from? Because you ain't get it from your mama. And he took a SSAT. I thought he was dumb. Full disclosure. I thought he was not dumb, but like I didn't think he was smart. And he took a SSAT and got almost a perfect score. Wow. And I was like, yeah, I was in shock. Actually, I had to Google what the score meant because I was like, what does this even mean? I don't even know. Are you smart? Are you dumb? I don't get it. So I'm like Googling, like, what does the score mean? And I'm like, oh shit, like the perfect score is this. And
my boy's a genius.
Yeah. But as I like read and study and divinely download whatever is downloaded into me, I see it in my son so very clearly. Like, oh yeah, that is the evolution of where we're going. He doesn't let people like take him hostage emotionally. He knew at the age of 4, like so many like principles of like living a good life that most humans don't even get to by the age of 75. And so we're going to see Gen Z like really come up. They're super smart, emotionally stable, and it's just going to get, those people are going to get better and better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I have such a like fan, or I'm becoming such a fan of, I guess, also respecting like history and elders and things that people have done before us, right? To like clear a path. Like in a mundane sense, it's like I live in West Hollywood, like gay Mecca, right? You respect the elder gay guys because it's like you did so much so all of us can be out here partying every weekend. Thank you so much. And
Yes.
no, but really, so like that's a basic example. But I also believe in the fact that like your son is able to just be born into energy easily because you've done your work. You've done your clearing. I know you say he didn't get it from his mama, but he did because look at what you've done to lay that path out for him. And I think
Girl,
like
you certainly
it's
didn't
this
get it from his
idea of
dad.
like ancestral clearing, right? Like we're doing the work so that these new babies being born just don't have to deal with those same issues. They'll deal with their own unique issues, right? And then they'll work through those things. And then their kids will kind of be born having that cleared away and they'll just tap into something higher. Am I making sense?
Oh my God, perfect.
Okay.
That was so
Perfect.
beautifully said. And I really resonate with that. I think that as I've gotten older and I kind of find myself in this, like, I'm not young or like immature anymore, but I'm definitely not an elder. I'm like an elder in the making. I have a deep appreciation for people, for like women who came before me, for all the generations that came before us so we could get to the place that I get to enjoy what they had to like suffer through. And essentially our children and the generations to come after us are going to get to enjoy the fruits of what we went through to like contribute to this like collective consciousness rising, you know?
Absolutely. So, how do you use human design like in your life? So, say, so there's projector, manifesting generator, reflector, and then manifester, which, by the way, I've only met one reflector in my whole life. And there's reflectors are 1% of the population. Generators make up majority. Generators and manifesting generators, right? What's that's like 35%?
No. So generators are about 30, 35. Manifesting generators are 30, 35.
Reflectors are 1%, and then projectors are 20%, and then manifestors are 11%.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely.
Cool. So you have these. So I highly encourage everyone to go figure out what archetype you are. And then great. So like Ryan and I are manifestors, like, what do you do with that information? Like how do you apply that to your life?
Such a great question. So this is, I probably am going to say this much different than most human design people out there, but I have used human design as a tool for deep self-acceptance because even if you go back if you go back to like psychological beliefs or theories or whatever, like a lot of psychological beliefs are that like we actually can't have sustainable change in our lives without accepting where we are first. And I'm sure, like in AA, they talk about this too. It's like owning where you are right now in order to get to where you want to go. And I think a lot of us on this earth, especially if we're on a journey of like spirituality, is that we want to evolve. And usually the catalyst is some sort of really terrible event in our lives where we couldn't make actual logical sense of what is going on. People around us dying, rape, watching someone get murdered, all these things that are absolutely terrible and part of the human experience really set us on these catalysts to like understanding why the am I like this? And how do I process this? All these types of things. And so human design has given me a deep acceptance of like, I was actually created just this way. I don't have to be any other way besides the way that I am. And if I learn to work with myself, then my life can actually be easy and charmed. And so when I look at a type, I think, okay, manifestors like you guys in general and my son, whom I love and love their energy. Their raw power is so palpable, and understanding that you are like super powerful and you can do whatever you want to do, and owning that is game changing, right? As a manifesting generator, I talk too fast, I move too fast. I always am looking for the shortcut for everything. And I used to think that I was so bad for those things because they're not generally like accepted in the public. And now I don't give a fuck. I move too fast. I talk too fast. I do things too much.
I love manifesting generators though, because you have that. So you have manifestors, we have these bursts of energy with these creative bursts that we have to follow. So that's why you'll never, if you find one in a 9 to 5, they're miserable. But we have these bursts of energy. And then, like, my husband's a manifesting generator, and he just runs and ideas and spot on. And he's just like, I don't understand. You had like when you go. And then, but I was like, yeah, bro, but I got to take a nap time. Meow, meow. Like, I got it. And if I don't, I'm grumpy, like I'm not creative. I'm not inspired. So it's so interesting because I love the energy of manifesting generators, because it's like you have these brilliant ideas. And then what's funny is the cheat code is manifestors initiate. Our energy is initiating. So now I'll have friends who know, and they're like, hey, give me permission. I'm like, I don't know if it works this way, but go for it, bud.
I mean, that's actually a really good human design hack for sure. Because you can use your friends to do whatever you want to do with. And if you know the energies you're working with, one of the things about human design and energy, and you both know this, that when you're in the energy of somebody else, you actually have access to their energy, good or bad. Like if you ever have like spent time with someone and left, and you're like, I cannot actually spend time with you anymore because I feel like drained. I need to take a nap, and like I'm zapped. That's how you know that how your energy works with someone else. But you have access to their energy and they have access to yours. And if you know their human design chart, you can know how your energy works together so you can get the most out of the time together that you spend, or a business or whatever. So if I'm using my type in my profile and I understand that a manifestor needs to use those bursts of energies, and when they come, they need to do it. They just need to tell people like, look, I feel super inspired. I'm locking myself away for a day. Don't fucking bother me or interrupt me while I'm working. And I know that I can give them the freedom to do it. And if I'm the manifestor, I feel so good because I'm honoring innately how I'm wired. And so if I know my type and I know how I'm wired, and projectors, my boyfriend is a projector. Man does not want to work. Like, and that is a projector thing. And when he does, he wants to do it a very specific way. And we are wired complete opposites. But for him, he feels good when he's in his element of strength, and that's where he shines. I'm much different. So like I use human design as self-acceptance, working with myself, honoring that like I'm going to have these bursts of energy. I can go for a long period of time, and making it okay. It almost is like, oh, now I'm working with myself. Now my affirmations are working because I innately believe that I'm actually worthy of getting the things that I want. So then you're working with the law of assumption and quantum physics, because if your self-concept is that like there's something innately flawed with me, what you're going to experience is there's something innately flawed with you, and everything you're going to do is going to be some sort of like effed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And really quickly, I want also, because we've talked about, we briefly touched on each one, but generators, they are, I hate the word workhorse but they take the ideas and they roll with it. And, listen, Oprah's a generator. So before y'all get all, procrunchity about it, you can't be messing with the big O. I mean, look at what the lady's done. She got initiated by her daddy and away she goes. Okay.
Never mess with a big O in general. Like that is the number one key to life. Do not F with my big O. Like you're gonna get cut. Yeah, I always say this because there's something beautiful about each and every single type, right? Like the beautiful thing about manifestors is that they think in a way that nobody else can put together. They have this raw power that is enviable to most types, and that's their true strength. They need naps. They also need the autonomy to
listen to this, Josh Sisson. I need naps.
But the reason why I have a ring light, a coffee cup, a laptop, a desk, and whatever is tangibly felt in the physical world is because manifesting and generators took whatever a manifestor was like, this is what we got to get going, and made that shit come to life. They're literally can take something from like the astral or from the unseen and make it seen, which is a really beautiful gift that I think often gets missed because we live in a society that wants to be unique and I want to be the only one. And so when I'm a generator, we're like, oh, generators are shitty because everybody is like that. Well, a projector can't do the things that a generator can do, and vice versa. A generator can't do what a projector or a manifestor does. So it's really just understanding that like each one of us has our own unique piece, and what makes us happy is going to be different. You know, I like working on the things that I love to do, and I could work on them all day. That's okay. My boyfriend would like to work for 2 hours and take a nap for the rest of the day. That's okay too, because that's how his energy is set up.
Right.
And reflectors really quick, because that's less than 1% of the population. And
Sure.
one of my friends' husbands is one. And it was so until they realize, because they have to honor a full moon cycle before they make a decision. And so, you know, he's constantly seeking, you know, his path and his purpose. And my girl, Michelle, she's a Capricorn. So she's like, what in the good Lord F are you doing? You know, like and so when she found this piece that he was a reflector, she's like, you're never gonna believe it. You're never gonna believe what he is. And it gave her patience, more patience with him as this process. And then when he was like, I want to, you know, like I want a boat, I want a motorcycle, I'm going to take jujitsu, you know, like watch me do well, one-armed handstand. Psych, I've never done that in my life. You know, there was a lot of patience with that piece. But what are reflectors?
So I actually have a bestie who's a reflector. When I found out she was a reflector when I first got into human design, I was like, bitch, I need to study you like a science experiment. Because it was such a rare thing. Essentially, reflectors are mirrors to what is going on in the world today. They have access to divine cosmic like downloads. Like if you really like going back to what Ryan said about like the chosen ones, if like you want to really know who the chosen ones are that have access to divine like information, if you're using human design as like your go-to, then that would be the reflectors. The reason why they need the full like 28-day moon cycle is because at every stage of the moon cycle and every stage of like how this like world turns astrologically, they're getting downloads day by day. Wow. And in order for them to make a complete decision, they need to get all the downloads, right? Where we're not wired that way. I think you and I did this because you can run a sleep chart. Your type changes when you go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm a reflector when I sleep. So, and I do sleep alone. Anyone who sleeps, you know, like my husband's been sleeping. We've been together 12 years. He's been sleeping not near me
on the couch that whole time.
Well, he comes from a long line of couch sleepers. But since 2013, he's been. And so my mom would come to visit. And she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're great. What are you talking about? I'm getting the best sleep of my life." And my auric field is a manifestor's auric field it's repelling, and that's not a negative thing, but my auric field slams up against people. So sleep wise, yeah, but sleep wise, I turn into a reflector. So I'm constantly getting downloads. That makes so much sense. You brilliant lady.
Yeah. It's so, and this is what I have found. I'm going to share this piece of information. Now, whether other human design people agree, I do not know. But I've been running sleep charts for a long time because this has fascinated me. I'm a reflector when I sleep as well. I get divine downloads when I'm sleeping. I have some of my past clients have been projectors when they sleep. Now, projectors have the ability to go into people's auras, and they also are notoriously like natural healers. Like at our core, we're all healers, but projectors just naturally have this like ability, in my experience working with projectors, to like be able, like medicinal intuitives, go in and heal people. I had a Manny Jen client who turned into a projector at night, and her like spiritual gift was when she slept, her spirit, like her higher self, left her body and would
astral projection.
And would go to people and be able to give people who were grieving a night of sleep that haven't been able to sleep. Her healing abilities turned on when she was asleep because she was a projector. So if you think about like the type you turn into at night gives you access to like, well, depending on what you believe. I personally believe that at night we're like dreaming we're living in the astral plane. Our level of consciousness is shown to us by what we dream, right? And so if people don't really have control over their dreams or they don't remember their dreams, typically they have a lower level of consciousness that just needs to be raised until they start having like vivid, active like dreams. And then when you become like, you can control your dreams, when you know you're in your dream and you can make things or change things in your dream, you know that your consciousness level is rising because you have that control in the astral plane. If I know my type and when I go to sleep, I can like know what I'm able to do in the astral plane very naturally. As a reflector, I can download things from the astral plane when I'm sleeping. As a projector, I can heal people when I sleep. Like my highest self, my spirit body, whatever you want to call it, rainbow body, can go in and heal. That is my ability. There's, if you're a generator, I'm sorry. When you sleep, you can work.
Out there working. You're out there working, hustling, doing it. God, y'all, bless y'all.
You have to tell me my sleep thing later. I'm that's curious.
Yeah, I do.
I think like just to like kind of start closing this out, I want to make sure everybody really understands you and how you work right now in all of this. And you're so fascinating because just like in astrology or other aspects of the spiritual community, you can specialize a little bit. And I think you've got such a beautiful specialty of fusing your experience in sales with human design and helping entrepreneurs. And even more specifically, I think female entrepreneurs, right? So what are you doing? And how can people work with you? And where can they find you?
Oh my gosh, I love you. Yeah, so my background has been in business and sales. I worked in corporate America for like 15 years, training.
Drop those stats, boo. Like promote. Yeah. I mean, like don't this ain't time for modesty. Okay, like drop your statistics. Tell the people who you are.
You're so funny. Yeah, I mean, I was a badass. Let's be real. And I could close any sale. I've closed well over $20 million in sales, and that's just the sales that I actually calculated. There are I've spent many years building other people's businesses, training salespeople, working with entrepreneurs, navigating all aspects of business that most people just don't know. Workers' comp, health insurance, registering businesses, how to structure your business, all that kind of stuff is my background. Very boring to most people. And when I left corporate America, I was like, the missing piece for like entrepreneurs, as we're having this great change, more people are going to become entrepreneurs, right? The thing that people don't understand, one, is themselves. So that's where the human design comes in. How do I work with myself? How do I identify what my zones of genius are? How do I work with my own energy so that I can be a like driving force behind my business instead of like the thing that stops my business from moving forward? And then what are actual like 3D reality?
She knows I can't stand trendy words, and 3D is what pisses me off more than anything. Thank you for acknowledging that. You know, I hate it.
I mean, we are humans navigating the 3D reality. So what are things that we like? My job is combining human design, understanding yourself, and less like spiritual journey with an actual business so that you can make some freaking money. And you don't have to go to corporate America if you don't want. You can be compensated for the gifts that you naturally do. You want to be a painter, you know, like want to shit in a bowl and sell it on the side of the street. I really don't care. You can make money doing anything at this point. So that's where my like how I combine human design and sales.
I mean, so like if somebody runs their own brick and mortar shop, are they as like accessible to you as somebody who's just like and solo individual entrepreneur, like running their own spiritual business out of their home? Like, do you have a preference of who you want to work with?
No, I love working with all types of businesses. That's what I loved about corporate America, is that I was in outside sales and business to business only. So I only worked with businesses, and I worked with big businesses, like companies that were billion-dollar businesses.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love working with both because I love the creative entrepreneur. I also love navigating difficult situations inside of business. So it doesn't matter. I also think that this like trendy spiritual business word can be effed up. If you identify as spiritual, you have a spiritual business. It doesn't mean that you sell divine downloads that you whisper in someone's ear on Zoom, or that you sell tarot card readings or crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you identify as yourself as like on a spiritual journey and you have an insurance business, you have a spiritual business. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yes. Because you're doing it with more intention and purpose, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. And integrity, you know, instead of just the bottom dollar. I think the shift in corporate America has gone from, instead of just the bottom line, to fostering connection and relationships.
They have to, because people have said no longer take bad behavior. With the great resignation and COVID happening, people took bad behavior all the time. And people were like, oh, I have to have this job. I can't do anything else. I'm just going to, you want to shit on me and make me work extra hours without pay? Sure. Okay. I mean, that's what was happening. And then the great resignation happened and people were like, F off, I'm not working this job anymore. And companies were like, oh shit, like nobody's sticking around for this. Like,
no one wants to work for $8 an hour. What?
So, you know, like that's my own personal opinion. But I like working with solopreneurs and big businesses. And I have clients that like run the gamut of like someone who makes their oils in their house to a company, to massive insurance companies who have like 200 like insurance agents. So that doesn't matter to me as much. I like everyone.
Beautiful. And then people can also just straight up book you for human design readings, right? If they just want to know their chart.
I've actually made a slight transition in my business too, where I really do love human design sessions, but I have found them kind of boring recently because I've done so many.
Yeah.
And so I really like the business human design sessions that I've been doing, where we're like taking your human design and we're actually like doing practical application into your business. You want to make a certain amount of money in your business. You are starting a business. You've hit a plateau in your business. You want to change the product offerings and like product suite that you have, or you're just completely lost and you don't know what the F you're doing, but you are in business. I love doing those type of readings. So that's really where I have opened myself up for more availability and not been doing so many like one-on-one just human design sessions.
Amazing. And where exactly could someone go to get in touch and figure out how they can work with you?
I'm on IG and TikTok. Well, my TikTok.
Follow her on TikTok. If you're like, hey, all of this sounds super great, but what the heck are you talking about? Her TikToks, first of all, she's beautiful, so she's not bad to look at.
Stunning.
And then
Literally
it's very easy. It's digestible. You know, like it's like, oh, this makes sense compared to like, ooh, hello, reflector. You know, like the way you present is amazing. So keep doing that nonstop. Yeah. And Josh, if you're listening, her boyfriend, bro, it's time for you to get in front of the camera too, my man. We have not forgotten.
Okay. Well, and TikTok, it's at Maile J Jackson. Maile is Maile, which I love. I've never seen that spelling before. And we're gonna put your handles, your website in the show notes of the podcast.
And do you have any closing remarks, anything
or
that
arguments
you would like to say?
Do you want to get into it?
Okay.
Want to throw hands?
Like, where's my switchblade and my Vaseline? Throwback high school days. Honestly, I just want to say this. Or what do I want to say? I feel led to say, but no, I think if you're on a spiritual journey, know this, that like the part of the spiritual journey that I think people get effed up on is that we're also meant to enjoy the human experience and that we are never the victim of the world in which we live in. I read this quote that I loved so much, and it was talking about how like, basically like you have to know that you're in, like, in order to get out of prison, you have to know you're in prison, right? Like if you don't realize that you are actually a victim to like, you are living in victim mentality, you can't get out. If I'm in a prison, but I don't know I'm there, I'm just going to spin around in prison and think that everything is fine. But we innately all have more power than we realize. And that evolutionary journey that I have been on and that I'm at right now, I'm like, oh yeah, if I had one message for anybody in the world is that you're not a victim to your reality, that you're a powerful like co-creator in this universe, that you are like a divine spark of God walking around this like human world, like act like it. You know what I mean?
Oh, act like it. Man, I got goosebumps. That's
killer,
right.
Yes.
Goosebumps.
Seriously, killer closing. Everybody, please go check out all of Maile's links and book her up before she can't take any more bookings because that's about to happen
Oh,
in
you're
a
so
hot
sweet.
second.
Mhm.
And then also, if you're interested in more, we got other episodes coming. And also, you can check out more about us at clairannoyance.com. That's CLAIR annoyance.com. And if you're interested in working with either myself or Megan, you'll have links on clairannoyance.com to get to both of our respective sites and book us up too. And with that,
Thank you so much. You are a doll. We love you so much. You know, the work that you're doing is incredible. And, you know, you've been making some serious moves in life that you should really be proud of. And it is an honor to know and love you.
Yeah.
Aw, you guys are the best. Thank you for having me. I cannot imagine my world any better than spending my Thursday with the fabulous Ryan and Megan. And I will say this, I've had readings from Ryan and worked with Ryan before. I've also done readings with Megan and sessions with Megan. And like bar none, the best in the business. Like I have had many dealings with healers and Reiki healers and astrologers in the past. But like you guys are the real deal. You bring results, and like there's, if you want to book with Megan or Ryan, like highly, highly, highly recommend. No one I would recommend.
You.
So appreciate that. So appreciate that.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna kill this episode now. Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.